Welcome back, everyone. My name is Ember, and today we are continuing our One Piece journey with Volume 27. We're getting a little deeper into Skypiea now. This covers 247 to 255. So, we're in the midst of the battle with Satori and the ball challenge and such. Goes all the way up until the giant snake that Luffy and friends fight, and then the four of them get separated and such. So, gotta be honest, this volume answered a lot of my questions that I had in Volume 26. So, I guess I'll just go over those very briefly. I mentioned in that previous volume that there was a lot of the text bubbles didn't make a lot of sense to me. And then in this volume, I realized, oh no, they're just interrupting each other because they're a bunch of assholes. So, that cleared up some of my confusion. Like, it's kind of almost a comedic kind of thing. Like, they're just having different conversations on top of each other because that's who they are as characters. I'm already losing track of some stuff. We got some more backstory on I keep forgetting what his fucking name is. The old man. I'm really awful when it comes to remembering names. So, I'm just really scrolling through. I don't give a shit. But, so, I'm just gonna call him the old man. So, old man, turns out he was the previous ruler of Skypiea, and his power was usurped by Eneru as an outsider. So, definitely getting some more. We're gonna going back into the what is the meaning of a ruler kind of thing. What does a ruler have to do sort of thing? Because it turns out Eneru is basically just a slave driver. He's turned the I think they're called like the Heavenly Warriors. He's basically turned them into cheap labor and is just using them for his own personal gain and smiting anyone who he just doesn't like and is just encroaching on his territory. So, I imagine we're going to see this theme pop up quite a bit throughout One Piece. I already covered in my guest digest video, but Kato had a pretty good video about the kings in One Piece. So, would definitely recommend that video if you haven't seen it already. So it turns out that I was on the right track about the map thing. Like, Nolan said the gold is in the skull's right eye, and I mentioned that the map kind of looked like a skull, like it kind of looked like it had an eye, but as it turns out that the Jaya we know is only half of what Jaya originally was. The other half got blasted into the sky and by one of those knock-up streams and is now part of Skypiea, known as the Upper Yard up there. And when you put the two maps together, it looks even more like a skull. So, I guess I was on the right track. I just had it I was just a little bit off. I'm getting better at reading where Oda is going with some of this stuff. I'm not upset about that. It makes me feel smart. Makes me feel like I was on the right track with this kind of stuff. So, and that's such an interesting concept too. Like, I think they were called the Shandians, being former Jaya residents, just getting blasted into the sky and then getting kicked out of their land by colonialists. Let's be honest about what this is. This is another colonialism metaphor. Not even a metaphor, it's just colonialism. The Shandians had what the Sky Warriors wanted, actual soil to grow stuff, and so they just came and took it. So, once again, getting very political with this arc. Oda is not shying away from politics in any regard, which is kind of weird since I never see this brought up in general shonen discussions. Although, to be fair, I feel like One Piece is just like it's in its own world when it comes to shonen discussion. Like, it doesn't have the same power scaling debates. It doesn't have the same character debates. It doesn't have the same thematic debates as, like, other stories that get thrown into the same pile, like Naruto and My Hero and Dragon Ball and Demon Slayer. Like, a lot of those just get thrown into the same pile, and then One Piece is just kind of off doing its own thing. So, I guess that's kind of a plus for me, because it means I barely get spoiled on anything. So, but yeah, Oda's definitely playing around with some pretty interesting ideas about politics. So we'll see how this conflict is resolved. Hopefully with the Shandians getting their land back. But we'll see just how far he takes his the anti-colonialism idea. The Shandian characters I do like a lot so far. I like the design, sort of got a tribal kind of design to a very Aztec or Inca kind of look to them. Although I realized that I just generalized two very different cultures. So apparently I have some stuff to work on with colonialism. Aside from that, we got some more really solid action spreads. I really liked the randomness of the ball challenge with Satori, and how and again, Luffy just ends up turning it on him, just throwing it back in his face. Just, whoopsies, you got your ball dragon thrown back at you. So that was kind of funny. And then the obvious, answer to, Satori being able to predict their movements is just hold on to him once you got him, and then don't let go. And then Sanji just completely fucking bashes his skull in. This moment made me... I'm going to be careful about how I word this, because this moment made me wonder, like, wow, I wonder if Oda could draw really good gore. Like, if this were a more berserk-oriented manga, would Oda be able to draw really good gore? This particular shot made me think of that. I don't necessarily want gore in my One Piece. I think the action and the visceralness of it all is really solid on its own. But it just made me ponder the idea of how graphic Oda could get. So, just a brief thought about that passed through my brain. There's so much. I had so many ideas to talk about with this manga. I'm losing track of it. So, but going off of Satori, two different directions going off Satori. One, we're starting to see, I guess, the being able to predict people's movements. I guess it's something that all of the heavenly people can do. They call it their mantra, so I guess they just have something that allows them to predict the future, because one of the Shandians was able to do it, and they were able to see the future of something regarding the Ganfor, that's what his name was. Close enough. And they were able to predict something about the Straw Hats, but... So, there is some kind of not mind reading, there is some sort of future sight ability in play here that I'm interested in seeing how that plays out. And another thing about Satori is especially going along with this cover here, is I forgot what the name they use is for the Royal Guard of Eneru's, like 4 Royal Guards, but it reminds me a lot of the general Japanese trope of the Heavenly Kings. And they're in the sky, so the Heavenly Kings. But what made me really tie the connection in, solidly, was when these other two guys, and I forgot what the other guy's name is, they were like, oh, Satori was the weakest of the 4 of us, and immediately threw me back to Yu Yu Hakusho, where the rock monster got defeated by Kurama, and the other three Saint Beasts were talking about, well, he was the weak one, so fuck him. So, seeing that trope get passed down through Shonen Jump and just Japanese media in general is always really fun to see. So, I like making connections to this kind of stuff. But, they don't really have a ton of interesting personality, I guess, but not a lot of characters from this archetype typically do. We'll see how that goes, though. But speaking of personality, Eneru definitely threw me off. I was expecting someone a lot more serious, I guess. I don't know why, but just the immediate smiting in the previous volume made me think that this guy was just a no-nonsense, very stoic kind of god character. But he's much more like a very, like, arrogant youth kind of guy. Like, someone in his, like, mid-20s or early 20s who thinks he's hot shit kind of dude. And to be fair, he seems pretty powerful, so... and that plays... that's definitely going to play into, like, the meaning of a king and such, and who is the right person to rule a kingdom. So... definitely wasn't what I was expecting in that regard. Is there anything else I want to talk about? God, there's so... this was a really meaty chapter. Oh, there was something I wanted to talk about with the Straw Hats. Fucking... I can't remember. But a lot of personnel... oh! Yeah, the bonfires. Like, going back to, like, these guys are just kind of assholes who talk over each other and don't give a shit. Like, we had the scene where, like, hey, guys, put out the fire, you don't want them to see us. And Luffy's like... Luffy and Usopp are like, you don't know the meaning of a campfire. Of camping. You have to have a campfire. It's necessary. And then Zoro and Sanji show up like, hey, let's make a bonfire. Let's make it bigger. And... this is definitely one of my favorite, like, comedic moments. Like, just in terms of how it's structured that I've seen from One Piece so far. Like, we get this escalation of the fire, and then a bunch of monsters show up, and it's like, oh shit. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, we're just gonna party. We're just gonna throw a party. And I'm starting to see some more of, like, the more nuances of the characters in terms of, like, their group interactions. Like, I've noticed this before, but I've never, like, drawn attention to it, is, Zoro just sort of sits back a lot of the time. Like, sometimes he'll engage, like, that moment, like, hey, let's make a bonfire. But once the bonfire is going, he's just sort of off to the side, like, yeah, I'm just gonna chill here and watch them have fun. So, that was pretty cool. I also like, we're seeing a lot more of, Usopp's attachment to the ship. Obviously because Kaya gave it to him. I think that's what her name was. Yeah, Lady Kaya, I think that's what her name was. But we're seeing this definitely come up as a... like, he's very intimate with the knowledge of the ship. Like, when someone repairs the ship without their knowledge, he's like, how could someone have known this is exactly what the ship looks like? And just his general care for the ship in general. That was pretty cool. But then we also had that moment where it's like, Chopper is like upset that he let the mast get broken, but Usopp's like, hey, you're still here, so that's fine. I can always rebuild the ship. So, he doesn't put the ship above his crewmates. He's still a good guy. Yeah. Just I wouldn't necessarily say this is one of my favorite volumes so far. Like, it's just... I mean, it's still really good, but it's just sort of trucking along. I just happen to have a lot of different ideas to talk about this time around. But, I had some really cool spreads, like when they figure out that this island was part of Jaya. I also liked the tease leading up to that, where Nami's the only one who knows what's going on, and you're like, okay, Nami, what did you see in the binoculars? Come on, let's get to it. Come on, show me. But, I'm very... yep, just some really good action spreads, too. Oda is so good at these spreads, man. I fucking love them. But, yeah. Really looking forward to... Again, I think East Blue set my expectations in a weird way because we don't get these short... We're not getting the short, super emotional arcs anymore. That's not where One Piece is now. Now we're in for the big, long-haul arcs that have the emotional payoff at the very end. So, like... And Alabasta definitely paid off in that way for me. Like, it had that big Nakama moment at the end that made me fucking cry. So, I'm going to stop harping on about that and just wait for the big punches at the end. But, looking forward to seeing how Skypiea goes. Very much enjoying it so far. That's about it for now. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment and all that jazz. And I looked it up. I think volume 32 is the last volume of Skypiea. So the Friday video, I think, will be the way when I finally get to it. A whole fucking 5 days from now. But look forward to that. In any case, my name is Ember, and I'll see you next time.